We're live on Facebook. Is the YouTube channel working for you, Werner?
This is not set up because I cannot do it customized. That's technical. Sorry.
I understand. We won't worry about it then. At least we have the Facebook connection working. Okay, so let me share the screen and we will get to the day. So here we go. Okay, so everyone hopefully can see my screen. Welcome to our very first ServCollab live video event. We're delighted to have our first participants joining us for this. This is, for us, an exciting opportunity to share some of the things we're working on with collaboration with you. So our title for our talk is Advice on Building Collaborations to Elevate Human Experience. And with ServCollab's activities since I first founded it in 2018, we've been focused on collaboration. There's a lot of other things we might want to share with you, but we really thought that focusing on collaboration should be at the key focus for our first video. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to introduce all three of us that are speaking. I'm going to be very brief on myself. The short story is that I did my dissertation in 1980. It was a study of fairness in services, and I'm still focusing on fairness in services all these many years later. I founded ServCig and I founded ServCollab. I'll leave out all the other details so that we can get to the agenda for the day. And the topics we have for the day are, first, I'm going to tell you about elevating the human experience, an article that I wrote with the advisory board of ServCollab. Linda Alkire is going to be sharing with you an article that she and I were part of the collaboration team on called Design for Service Inclusion that was done in 2018. Sertan Kabadayi is going to share with us a transformative refugee service experience framework. It's an article that just came out very recently in the Journal of Public Policy and Marketing. And all three of us were actually part of that collaboration team of 13 people. And we will finish up with questions and discussion with you. So let's get to it then. On my part first. The very first article came out last year in the Journal of Service Management. The whole title was Elevating the Human Experience Through Service Research Collaborations, Introducing ServCollab. And I'm going to say a little bit more about the authors in just a moment, but that first part, elevating the human experience, as we were working together on this project, we found ourselves wanting to phrase and focus a term that would allow us to emphasize what we hope to do with ServCollab. And that became elevating the human experience, that if services were working correctly, they are actually elevating human experiences. Now for more about the advisory board. The 6 names that you see here are the advisory board for ServCollab. I asked each of these people shortly after I had decided to start ServCollab. I asked each of them to be on the advisory board. I had co-authored with all of these people in this list before. Linda Alkire, you will be hearing from very shortly. Linda Alkire and I are obviously at Texas State. Lori Anderson, and I'm going to skip all the way down to Amy Ocean because they're both at Arizona State. Lori and Amy were really the 2 major instigators of the transformative service research movement. And I had been part of that team then. I needed their advice because I didn't want to go accidentally off track from transformative service research. David Bowen, I had worked with on a Billions of People Deserve to Be Served article with him and Lori and Amy, but also would worked on that article with Thorsten Gruber. Thorsten Gruber is at Loughborough University in the UK, and I left out David Bowen's detail. He's retired at Thunderbird School of Global Management. And I should also emphasize that Dave Bowen's a management professor. All of the rest of us are marketing, except for our very last person, Leah Patricio, who I'd worked with on multiple projects. She's my former doctoral student and certainly has done a remarkable job of helping build service design into the service research field. She's in an engineering college. So that's the group of people who were advising me, and we were working together on creating the logic of ServCollab. So 2 key things that I need to share with you that are part of anything you can find on our website, and certainly in the article. We decided there really had to be 3 human rights goals. The first goal had to be to serve humans with research that respects their dignity and supports their rights. We really saw these as sort of a laddering. So the next one's a ladder up from just serving to enable collaborations among researchers and organizations that span disciplinary and national boundaries in pursuit of diagnosing and treating humanity's many service system problems. And the third ladder is the hardest ladder, to seek transformative reductions in human suffering and measurable improvements in human well-being. So serve, enable, and transform. And then we, in the article, were discussing some of the topics that we wanted to encourage, the themes we wanted to encourage. This is by no means all the things that ServCollab is interested in. These are simply some topics we wanted to identify early, starting with service inclusion, because we think a lack of inclusion is at the root and core of unjust human service systems. And Linda Alkire will be telling you more about that today. Service language is one that, to me, is an essential one because language enables human interactions. Without language, we would really be throwing rocks at each other. ServCollab encourages projects that seek to create service language that researchers and human populations can use to understand and implement human well-being for all. Improve human well-being for all, rather. So language really is at the heart of so much that is done right or wrong with humans. There is language that discriminates and is intended to hurt. There's a language that is intended to help. So it's a really big topic because it's tied to our interactions. And third, climate change. And climate change, the issue there is that service research needs projects that balance serving human needs now with serving the needs of future generations by protecting the fragile service ecosystems of planet Earth. And that gets me to the next topic, which is the challenges of scale and complexity. Scale and complexity are key factors in human suffering. And to elevate the human experience, ServCollab encourages building on the concepts and logic of two service research fields that focus on scale and complexity. Public health is focused on the scale issue. So by broadening and applying the concepts and logic of public health to fully serving human needs in large groups, we think service research could do a better job of working on problems. And we've certainly seen around the world, we've seen the role of public health worldwide in our pandemic crisis that we're all in the middle of still. Public health has been focusing on how do you cope with problems at that scale. A different lens for human interactions and perspectives is intersectionality. This comes out of the feminist research literature. So by embracing and applying the concepts and logic of intersectionality, we can understand the complexity of each human experience. It really gets into some of the more specific details and complexity of what goes on in human lives. And the feminist perspective makes perfect sense because the woman who really originated that term was a Black woman doing research and looking at the role of being both a woman and also Black. And there are a lot of other complex things that get even more complex than that. Okay, so what does collaboration require? There are 5 things that we think collaboration requires. We think it requires escaping the preposition to and embracing the preposition with. Now, on some level, that might seem trivial, but it's not trivial because prepositions describe interactions. Interactions connect us. So those simple little words that we use in English and other languages have similar prepositional structures. Those simple little words matter a lot. So we're not concerned with just business to consumer, the B2C that's often described in the English literature, or business to business, the B2B. We're concerned with things that are with. So rather, collaboration should be human with human and respectful by doing it human with human. Collaboration, we think, requires shared values, and this is one of the things that research teams have to focus on and develop quickly is a sense of shared values and a sense of shared respect, because research is a difficult challenge, and collaboration in any way is a difficult challenge. And fourth, creative uncertainty. My favorite aspect of doing research all these many decades is not being sure exactly what will happen as I collaborate with other people. I'm sure that we will have fun together. I'm sure we can make a lot of progress, but am I sure exactly what is going to happen? No, that's part of the fun of scientific research. And the very last one on my list here is bringing your own brain, and I, in parentheses, have BYOB. I started telling my students this years ago that the classes I was teaching were BYOB events, and partly because in the typical college student mind, just like mine when I was a college student, BYOB meant bring your own beer or bring your own bottle. So it helped them get the point that if they don't bring their own brain, they aren't contributing. We need, in collaboration, we need independent perspectives. The more independence, the better, really, in terms of the processes. And I have to say that was really the key reason I asked the people who were part of the advisory board to be on the advisory board, is those independent perspectives. So to serve humanity through collaboration, we think we need to elevate 3 things. We need to elevate the purpose of service, so that we're focused on higher purposes. That's really at the essence of what we meant by elevating the human experience. We need to elevate the ethics. Ethics set boundaries for human interactions. We need to elevate those. There are still lots of examples where ethical practices are not what they could be or should be. And third, we need to elevate the craft of service. This is really the professionalism issue. The craft of service needs to be elevated too. Those three things we think are essential to elevate. Now, elevating our thinking. What if life on Earth was open, flexible, and fun is the first one on my list. What if human service systems were designed to be mutually beneficial? What if fairness and inclusion were design principles for all service systems? And what if co-creation of value was a moral and legal requirement for every service system? And I'm really playing off of what I just told you in terms of elevating those three things before: the purpose, the ethics, and the craft. We really need to move things higher. And that was, of course, a key idea within that Elevating the Human Experience article too. I didn't hit the button right. Let's try it this way. Sometimes it doesn't want to go with me. The next slide focuses on a need for transformative collaboration. Transformative collaboration, we think, is needed to elevate the human experience for the more than 7 billion humans on Earth while not destroying the planet. There are so many humans that are not being included, so they don't have the chance to be in a collaboration. And there's a long, long list of those problems. And Linda Alkire is going to be getting to some of those issues tied to the inclusion topic. So last thing I'm going to focus on before I switch to Linda's part is to mention that while I've been mostly talking from a marketing lens and from a business professor lens, I try regularly to find sympathetic topics and interest areas that I might read about in other fields. And these are 3 very recent books that are all talking about collaboration in different ways. Vivek Murthy's book from 2020 on Together is his title. The subtitle is The Healing Power of Human Connection in a Sometimes Lonely World. He emphasizes a lot the problems caused by loneliness. Now, he's the former Surgeon General of the United States. He was the 19th Surgeon General, and you may be well aware that he's also the new 21st Surgeon General of the United States. He was just recently selected for that position and approved for that position. The second book is Humankind, A Hopeful History from Rutger Bregman. He is a historian. Obviously, the previous person was a physician. Bregman is an historian. He's Dutch. I recommend this book very highly. He focuses on many of the misconceptions about human nature. According to all of his historical research, and it makes perfect sense to me, humans are actually much kinder than we think. And so he's deliberately putting the humankind in 2 different colors because his basic point is humans are actually kind. We are a helpful species. And the third book on friendships, this is a very recent book, 2021. The subtitle, Understanding the Power of Our Most Important Relationships, by Robin Dunbar. You may recognize that name. He's an evolutionary psychologist who popularized the number that became Dunbar's number, that we typically have 150 friendships of various levels. And there's an evolutionary logic to that. That's about as many friendships as our brains can handle. We have the largest brains of any species per our body weight on our planet Earth. So if you looked at the size of our bodies versus our brains, and what do we do with those brains? It's social. So all 3 books are really looking at various aspects of collaboration, which to me is encouraging because it means that lots of other people are on a similar wavelength. And one last thing before I turn it over to Linda. ServCollab relies completely on volunteers and collaboration. So there are 4 people that I need to acknowledge to help that made this event happen. Werner Koons is a volunteer helping us with the web today, with Facebook today, with Zoom today. You probably already know Werner from his work on ServSig. Katarina Panina is our other volunteer that is a doctoral candidate in Finland. She's been helping with some of the communications. Radula is our communications officer. And you almost certainly have seen Radula's name as the various Facebook communications and other communications we've done from ServCollab happen. And Kareem is our technology officer who's been coordinating so many of our technology activities because we're a virtual organization. We are not an organization that has a physical presence. We are virtual. So technology becomes all the more important in a virtual system than it would in other systems. So with that, let me flip to this slide and leave this up momentarily while I introduce Linda Alkire to you. Now, I've already said a little bit about Linda being an assistant professor of marketing, so we'll skip past that. She did her dissertation research focusing on transformative service research at the University of Manchester. She has published a wide number of service articles in her very short career so far. Unlike me, Linda is very early in her career and has been very active.
Mẹ đang họp.
Yeah, please turn your microphone off. Microphones
Bố lấy
can
cho
be a
con cái.
problem.
Bảo bố lấy.
Microphones can be a problem. Now, the other things to mention.
Linda, I think it's your presentation. Do you have an underlying sound on it? That was it.
Okay. The other thing to mention about Linda is that Linda has become very involved with various journals as an associate editor. That includes the Journal of Service Management, Journal of Services Marketing, and Services Industries Journal. And last, I should mention that she is also co-chair of ServCollab. So with that, Linda, it's your turn.
Thank you very much, Ray, for this wonderful introduction. I feel very humbled, and welcome everyone. We are very excited to see many of you joining us today for this first live ServCollab event. I feel very humbled to be invited to be part of it, and following Ray is really always a difficult act. So I'm going to try my best to match the level. So thank you for being here. And as Ray mentioned, I will be talking about a project that really started a new stream in my own career, and I hope inspired many people to join the service inclusion path of work and understanding the importance of service inclusion. So this project was first ignited by this idea of interdisciplinary research, and this interdisciplinary research has been acknowledged. The importance of it has been acknowledged in other fields. Here is a special issue from the Nature magazine where a quote really caught my eye, where it says, "To solve the grand challenges facing society like energy, water, climate, food, health, a lot of them service issues, scientists and social scientists must work together." And I think in the service field, we have a history of being a very interdisciplinary field of research. However, I think for a long time, we disregarded the human aspect and the human experience. It was really a very fortunate time for me to start my PhD right at the time when the first CSR article was published. And I was fortunate to have joined that movement from the beginning. And I'd like to believe that I'm trying to contribute to it. And this study is very much inspired by the need for more interdisciplinary work in service. And I'd like to give a big shout out to all the wonderful co-authors, because this paper is a joint collaboration, interdisciplinary collaboration between Ray Fisk, Alison Dean, Linda Alkire, Alison Joubert, Joe Previty, and Nicola Robertson, and Mark Rosenbaum. And together we published this paper, Designed for Service Inclusion, Creating Inclusive Service Systems by 2050, in the Journal of Service Management in 2018. And this paper has been awarded one of the highly commended papers award, and has been really well received overall so far. So this paper, this presentation, I'll be mainly talking about this paper, and at the end I will share some lessons about collaborations that I've done throughout this project, but also some other projects. So first we started small. We started by looking at what is marketing and what is the definition of marketing. So the American Marketing Association defined marketing as the activity, set of institutions and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customer, client, partners, and society at large. And this is the well-known definition that you can find on their website. However, the question that we asked ourselves as a team, do all customers have equal access to value? It seems that this definition kind of assumes so. However, as service researchers, we also asked ourselves, does that mean that all services, service systems, and providers are fair? The reality, unfortunately, shows otherwise. The reality of service exclusion is something we see on a daily basis, and it occurs whether from the service provider or the service system more broadly. Sometimes it's deliberate, where it is on purpose, but a lot of times it's unintentional. And I'll give you some examples in a minute, where services fail to include or give an adequate service in a fair manner to all the stakeholders. And this exclusion can happen based on gender, race, ethnicity, age, disability, anything that doesn't fit the norm or the group that we belong to. And unfortunately, we're seeing that widespread, and in a lot of instances, it is somewhat accepted. Some examples of the service exclusion are in the news on daily basis, and I updated my examples here. So I'm going to give you some examples from here, from the US, but I'm sure this happens from around the world, where, for example, someone is being banned from a store because of their race. The second example is really very troublesome kind of experience that is from last week. This is a picture from an Asian restaurant in San Antonio, Texas, which is down the road from where I live, where the place has been vandalized in the wake of the pandemic. And the last one, which is more of an unintended exclusion, where the mandate to wear masks, and everyone is pushing for masks, has excluded, in a way, a lot of people who rely on sign language, for example. So this is a service exclusion that is happening unintentionally, but it is excluding a lot of people who need the sign language, reading lips, and making sure that they can communicate while they're wearing that masks. Now, in the literature, this has been addressed through various types of areas of research. So when we looked into the literature, we know there are studies on marketplace discrimination, where we compare the in-group versus out-group. Also, the disadvantaged customer, the people who are restricted, whether in their income, their racial status, age, language difficulty. Also, customer vulnerability, a concept pretty much introduced by Mark Rosenbaum in 2017, and the focus on making sure that everyone has equal access to create that value in a service encounter. And then the last one, which I'm sure I am, and I'm sure many of us are sometimes stuck in a specific service. We feel captive, where we don't have a choice. And we feel this is the only option available, and the service is designed in a way where we're not given the choice to exit it or to be treated fairly. And all these different studies led us to think about the intersectionality problem that Ray mentioned earlier, where imagine you are an Asian lady who is elderly, maybe having arthritis, with some aging, obviously, with some sort of an immigrant status. Then all these different these issues together compile into a really big intersectionality problem, where service exclusion becomes intensified. So all these different examples from the real world, but also from the literature, led us to the definition of service inclusion, which we define as an egalitarian system that provides customers, whether it's consumers, clients, patrons, citizens, patients, and we made it on purpose very broad to highlight how services are, with fair access to a service, fair treatment during a service, and fair opportunity to exit a service. And we felt that this definition, highlighting the journey that a service, that as consumers, as patients, as citizens, we go through, that we could experience service inclusion at any time during this journey. So this is why the definition is broad. And the way we presented this concept, we wanted it to be positioned as a global service standard. And now we're using that standard as one of the goals and objectives of ServCollab, and one of the building blocks of ServCollab. And of course, it is linked to TSR and its attempt to improve and uplift the well-being of customers, societies, and even global well-being. And here is an image that really makes a really good distinction between the various terms out there, for example, exclusion, integration, how it can happen, but still can make people feel excluded, separation, where you can create some sort of an environment, but it's not part of the inclusion. We are calling for service inclusion, for true integration into the service system. And we built service inclusion on 4 pillars, and these pillars are enabling opportunity, which means empowering people to have access to service and to receive and be able to co-create the value. And here I'd like to give you an example from a really wonderful, wonderful service that is, again, down the road from my house in San Antonio, which is the Morgan's Wonderland Water Park. And it's the first water park in the world to accommodate guests with all abilities. And this is an example of a service that is designed in a way that enables opportunities to all people. Offering choice, again, I talked earlier about a lot of services keeping us captive in wherever think about your internet provider, for example, or your cell phone provider, or even your airlines sometimes, where they force you to go through a specific service or buy it in a specific way or consume it in a different way. So offering choice is another very important part of being of enhancing service inclusion. Relieving suffering, and in another project, Ray and I worked on proposing the idea of relieving suffering as a stepping stone for uplifting well-being. And we argue in that article that we cannot talk about uplifting well-being before we actually fulfill the basic human needs. And here is an example from Westgard, which is an organization that works on humanitarian entrepreneurship activities in Africa. And their main focus is on relieving suffering as an opportunity to raise the well-being in the long term. And finally, fostering happiness. This is something we don't talk a lot about in services. We talk about satisfaction a lot, but we don't talk about actual pleasurable experiences as much as we could as part of our service inclusion efforts. And here, I'd like to give you the example of Cameron Indoor Stadium, which is a stadium that is certified for accommodating children and adults with autism, dementia, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, so that those people can also enjoy being in a live game and watching a live event and being involved and experiencing the happiness of being in a live show, hopefully after COVID and when everything is safe. But that's definitely an example of a service that works on the idea of fostering happiness as part of them wanting to include more people in their businesses. And in the paper, we go into talking more about the design for service inclusion. We talk about how can we design the concept, the service concept itself, but also the idea of designing the system around it, that it's not enough to focus on the concept of the service, but also have a system around it to support that inclusion on the system level, and the one-on-one encounter, again, between the customer and the frontline employee, between a customer and a customer, and all these different service encounters that happen within a service to foster service inclusion. And we also offer a very in-depth research agenda, which I'm not going to go through all of it right now. I'm just going to propose some questions that we thought are very relevant and something that could be possibly discussed at the end of the session. Is, for example, we need more work to understand some of the barriers that enable, some of the barriers for enabling opportunity in service. And another project, again, we were working on trying to understand the barriers from the actual service customer point of view, and what are the barriers for them to be able to reach those transformative services in the first place. So in a way, what are the barriers to their access to those transformative services before they become actual consumers of those services? How might services be designed to eliminate those barriers? And there's a lot of work to be done in there about how to design them from the beginning to the end through the whole customer journey. And I think Sertan is going to talk a little bit about that, because that's what we did in one of our refugee papers about how can we design services to eliminate those barriers after having understood them from the refugee perspective. On the offering choice idea, we wanted to, some of the questions that we reflected on, how can increasingly diverse human characteristics needs be met? Again, recognizing the diversity, and again, I always say diversity without inclusion, it's not going to help. So recognizing the diversity, but also working on the inclusion. How can intergenerational exclusion, and that's kind of in the same line of thinking as the idea of intersectionality. So you have the intersectionality issue, but also you have the intergenerational exclusion, where someone is born already into an exclusion that has been generationally there. So how do you deal with this type of situation, and what services can help get people out of this intergenerational exclusion? On the relieving suffering, another project that is really very interesting, and another area that we think needs a lot of more work, is the systemic bias and implicit biases. As I mentioned, there's a lot of work to be done on understanding our own biases. And I think this is definitely an area where we need to do more interdisciplinary work. In psychology and in other areas of research, they have done way more work on the implicit biases, and implicit biases in services is something really definitely understudied. We all have biases, and here I'd like to invite you all to, there's a test online which you can go and do and see what level of biases you have. I can share that with you at the end of the talk. But the idea behind it is that we all have biases, and recognizing those biases and be able to work through those biases. I definitely very much try to learn from it, and knowing those biases help dealing with that, of course. So knowing these biases and what sort of biases we go through, especially those implicit biases that we are not aware of. And here I'd like to recommend a book. It's called The Blind Spot. It talks a lot about our own implicit biases and how we sometimes judge things before we have a clear understanding, just because of some subconscious information in our minds. So in addition to this question, on the other side, again, focusing on happiness in service encounters, focusing on happiness in service interaction, and including happiness training into our service employee training, and how can we make the inclusive and the happy service interaction part of our daily service language. And here I also like to emphasize what Trey said earlier about the role of language. Language covers all these different areas, whether the way we speak, we could portray some implicit bias, or the way we use some words, we could unintentionally be excluding others. So there's, again, a lot of studies and need to learn more about the role of language. And here I'd like to give a big shout out to ServCollab for the work they've been doing and informing us about some of the recent studies and most interesting studies about the words and the language and how it plays on in the service context. And here's our inclusive team. This team has worked on this paper. It has been a wonderful collaboration. I'd like to believe we were definitely an inclusive team from different countries, different universities, different backgrounds, different experiences, and we came together to work on this paper. So a big shout out to all my co-authors. This paper wouldn't have happened without them. And this event was held at the University of Queensland in Brisbane, Australia. So it was definitely a very fun experience working with all of them. And at the end of my talk, I just wanted to highlight some of the challenges associated with interdisciplinary collaboration. It looked so easy and so fun, but at the end of the day, we need to acknowledge that it's not an easy work. There's always the question of where do we start in an unfamiliar territory, especially when we have so many areas out there that are way ahead of us in their understanding of some of the concepts we're trying to bring into service. There's also the idea of overcoming the misunderstanding. And in another project, I was fortunate to have worked with researchers from social entrepreneurship and areas that are very different from ours and humanistic management. And we definitely struggled a little bit with our usage of terms, with our usage of concepts. So it requires a lot of open communication in the team and willingness to listen and share ideas, like Ray mentioned at the beginning, where unless we are open to learning from each other, we will still be stuck in our own bubble, and it won't be a true interdisciplinary collaboration. It surely takes time because of the slower process of going through the basics. We also could face some institutional obstacles. Again, I'm very fortunate to be in a place where my type of research is very welcomed, but I know in a lot of institutions, it is not something that is accepted. For example, in my university, interdisciplinary research is celebrated, interdisciplinary grants are offered. It is something that is really very highly encouraged. But for early career researchers, I would definitely advise you to check on that before deciding on doing interdisciplinary collaboration, because you might have some of these obstacles that you might need to work through before you get your work to be acknowledged. Also, there's the suspicion regarding rigor and whether this is rigorous enough, because you're trying to get different ideas from different fields. So it might not be perceived by some as rigorous. And this is something we see also on the reviewer side. And as an associate editor on a couple of journals, it's definitely a hard task to find reviewers for interdisciplinary work, because if you choose someone from a specific area, they might not like the idea that their ideas are not clean and clear. So there is this communal protectionism and a difficulty from the reviewer side as well, and the editor side as well, to find reviewers to review this type of work. And also, based on the countries, again, you might have more of the RE and REF, for example, in the UK and Australia. And I know sometimes these could be limiting in the journals that are being accepted, the level of the whether it's a good enough journal, whether it's a good enough study, what's the impact of that study. So all these things definitely need to be taken into account. However, there's a lot of good news coming out of this interdisciplinary collaboration. Again, focusing on serve and service, kind of going back to our root, that this is what service is all about. And Ray has a great TED talk talking about the meaning of service beyond what we think about it. So I highly encourage you to watch it. But also the idea that we are focusing more and more in our research on the service ecosystem as opposed to the service encounter, and that our field has evolved from this one-on-one to more of the role of the ecosystem in what we do. It definitely helped me acquire new skills and contact, and it has been a very fun experience learning from researchers in various fields. Inspiration to confront questions that may not otherwise occur to you. Definitely it is something that opened up the horizons. It opened up way more opportunities to come up with new ideas, come up with new areas that are of interest to me as a person, but also as a researcher. And it helped us focus on reframing a problem. So instead of seeing it all only from a service perspective lens, we could look at it from, for example, the project that I mentioned earlier, the social entrepreneurship lens, and how they would approach thinking about it. And I think there's a lot to be said about that synergy of ideas between the social entrepreneurship researchers, the service researchers, and we had a service designer also on our team. And the paper, although it took a lot of time, it really brought all these different perspectives, and I think it was really interesting in the way we reframed the problem that we started with. And it also helps you reach wider audiences. And again, to elevate the human experience, we need a wider audience, whether it's a different type of researchers, but also wider area of readership as well. And hopefully it will have a much bigger impact. And that's the whole aim of ServCollab, is to actually have an impact through our research. I know in a lot of countries, impact is becoming more and more of a factor in funding decisions and university ranking decisions. So these are definite projects that could lead to a real impact out there. And also there's a lot more sources of funding that are being offered for interdisciplinary research. Here I just offer a few resources. Of course, ServCollab is the #1 resource for interesting interdisciplinary work to elevate the human experience. But also, as co-chair of ServSig, I'm definitely need to put in a word for ServSig here. If you're not a member of ServSig, please join us. We post a lot of general service related articles. It's a wonderful community, so please join us if you aren't part of it. Also, the conversation has done a great job converting academic articles to articles that are read by a wide variety of audiences, and this is what we need more of if we want to actually have an impact and elevate the human experience. And finally, the RRBM network, which is been a wonderful breeze of fresh air for a lot of business schools, as we are changing our mindset from being very business oriented to being business and socially conscious as well. So again, you can become a member of the RRBM network, and I highly recommend it as well. Above all, I'd like to say that it's been a wonderful journey working on these various interdisciplinary collaboration. It has been a wonderful fun for me to meet all these people who actually became really good friend of mine. So have fun. None of this can happen unless we really enjoy what we're doing, and definitely deeply believe in that. And finally, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for being here today. I hope you enjoyed the talk, and I look forward for all the questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. Let Sertan switch his slides up as I introduce him. I should note that there was one thing I forgot to say about Linda as I was introducing her. She is one of the members of the board of directors of ServCollab. And ServCollab only became a nonprofit in the legal sense as of this year, January of this year. And Linda and Laurie Anderson and I are the 3 members of the board of directors. And it's a Texas nonprofit because I'm living in Texas, and in our legal system in the United States, it was far easier to incorporate it in Texas. And so the board of directors again is Linda, Laurie Anderson, and me. And now to our third presenter, Sertan Kabadayi, who, as you can see on the slide he has up, is a professor of marketing at Fordham University. And he also knows co-chair of AMA ServSig, as well as project officer for ServCollab. And he's one of our newest officers pushing things forward on projects, which of course is absolutely essential to what we are trying to accomplish within all of the collaborations that ServCollab is about. I should also note that Sertan has been very actively involved in publishing. He's also been an associate editor of the Journal of Services Marketing, the Journal of Creating Value. And I should also note that he is a recent convert to the services research field. And what I love about recent converts to fields is the great enthusiasm they bring to being in the group. So it's delightful to have Sertan speaking next about our next topic.
Thank you, Ray. And it's great to be here. And it's great to follow 2 of my favorite colleagues and in fact, people on earth. So, and I would like to say hi to everyone. Just be warned because we'll go fast, okay? And I can go, so hopefully you will be able to follow. So today, what I want to talk about at the beginning, a little bit of our recent paper just published in the Journal of Public Policy and Marketing. And I will talk about our process about that paper. And then at the end, just like Linda did, I will share my own takes on collaborative work as well. So how we started on this work. At the beginning, the whole idea was quite broad, how we can help the refugees. But then that goal turned into how to decrease their suffering and increase their well-being. That became our guiding light at the beginning of this project. And then, given the importance of this topic and given the importance of services in general, we also wanted to see how we can build a launching pad that would encourage other refugee research projects as well. So this is how we started this journey in a way. So what we knew at the beginning? What we knew at the beginning, couple of things. First of all, global refugee crisis is a complex humanitarian problem. That's a fact. Also, we knew that refugees cannot be treated as a homogeneous group as they have different needs. Depending on where they are, depending on their individual journeys, they all have different needs. But we also knew that service researchers can assist with this crisis, because at the end of the day, refugees are immersed in human service systems. So that was our starting point. What we did is the following. Drawing on the marketing, sociology, transformative service, and consumer research literatures, we developed a transformative refugee service experience framework. So we really hope that this framework will help researchers, service actors, and public policymakers to navigate the challenges faced throughout the refugees' journey. This is a very simple visual of our framework. I say simple visual, even though it took literally months to develop this framework, even this visual. So at the top, you see the refugee service experience. So it's a continuum from suffering to well-being. So our goal is to make sure that to move refugees from suffering side to more well-being side. And in this paper, we suggest that one way of doing that is to create more hospitable service systems. So in this framework, in the service system, we also look at 3 different service system levels, micro, meso, and macro. But as we said, we look into different phases of refugee service journey. From entry to transition to exit, as we discuss in this paper, refugees have different needs, so they require different service systems and approaches. In this paper, we also use different examples as cases. Just look at this list. There are just some exemplary cases that we use in the paper from Somalia, Uganda, Colombia, Venezuela, Jordan, Turkey. So these are all different types of services or contexts in those different countries. So this shows us 2 things. While it's a global phenomenon, global crisis, refugee problem can also be very local, embedded in a specific context. So in this paper, we try to cover that with our framework as well. What we offered at the end, we have, in this paper, we have a list of managerial implications for public policymakers and service organizations. We also have a quite detailed research agenda, not only for public policy researchers, but also for marketing and service researchers as well. So this is a kind of our summary list in the paper, the topics, some themes that the future researchers can tackle with. But at the end, we also have detailed list of research questions, specific questions that we hope that future researchers will be working on. One important, I think, learning out of this experience was every discipline has something to say and to do to help with the global refugee crisis. In this paper, we try to look at that from service, marketing, public policy perspectives, but definitely every field, every discipline has something to say to help with that global crisis. So if you pay attention, I've been talking about we, and then you may say, who are you? Who are we? Look at this. This is our fabulous team of 13 co-authors. Aren't they good looking and quite colorful group? So this was the 13 people that we worked on this paper. I mean, at the beginning, I was a little hesitant. I'm a big believer in 13 not being a lucky number, but in this case, it just worked, I think, to our advantage. I just want to talk about, because Linda mentioned that it takes time. Collaboration, as we all know, in fact, takes time. This whole journey for this paper started back in May 2018. The 3 co-chairs of this group, Ray, me, and Silke, we submitted our initial proposal to the TCR conference 2019. And then between August and November of that year, we recruited team members. As Ray may remember, at the beginning, we did not expect to have such a big group. But once we started receiving applications, we realized that all those people had something to say. They were passionate about refugee-related issues. So then we said, who are we to cut them off? So we said, okay, the more the better, bring it on. So we ended up with 13 co-authors. And I think we are very lucky. We are glad that we did. And January, May 2019, we had all the team meetings over Skype. Remember the Skype before all the Zoom thing? We had our Skype meetings. Then for 2 days, we had the conference session at TCR. I think we did quite a good job in writing and finishing the first draft of the paper in 4 months. It took all summer. We had a lot of meetings and all. We submitted the paper. We got the revisions. We went through 1, 2, 3 rounds of revisions. Oh boy. And then September 9th of last year, we got the final acceptance. And now the paper is available online. So why are we so happy about this team, this collaboration, this specific collaboration? Because these 13 people, we are a truly eclectic and multidisciplinary team of academics, research associates, and even practitioners with training and background in different disciplines: marketing, public policy, definitely services, management, and nonprofit management as well. We live in 7 different countries. And in fact, we represent 8 different nationalities. So, speaking of diversity, speaking of different perspectives, we try to bring it all together, I think, in this team. The question is, how and why this team worked? Despite the number of 13 and all these very diverse background, I think one important factor was the common denominator. We all believed in the same goal, we all share the same passion. We try to help with this refugee crisis as much as we can using our expertise and background. So this is why at the end of the day, we kind of integrate all our different backgrounds, professional experiences and expertise to write this article. So this was a very interesting, very fruitful collaboration in itself. So very briefly, what are some of the lessons that I learned from this collaboration? It's not easy. I mean, I think Linda mentioned that, I think we all agree that collaborations by definition, they may not be easy, but you have to know that going into it. It requires a lot of coordination, time and people management, especially when you have team members from 6 different time zones. It even increases that complexity further. But what really helps and works is the team members sharing a common or similar vision and goal. I think at the end of the day, as Ray mentioned at the beginning, having that shared values is important, and having that shared passion and goal is a big important enabler for such collaborations. You need to be open to new ideas. You need to be open to learning from others. Remember, this is not what you do. This is not what you just bring to the table, but it's also mutual learning from other people as well. At the end of the day, you need to be willing to compromise. Again, you are not imposing your ideas on the other people. You need to open, and then you need to learn from them, and then co-create all together. Respect others is very important. Respect others' perspectives, opinions, backgrounds, and also personalities. At the end of the day, I think that respect is quite important. Having a team leader helps, team leader or a couple of team leaders. I think that's very important. Even though we were 3 co-chairs in this team, having someone like Ray at the end of the day, it was really helpful to push this project forward. But at the end of the day, as Linda mentioned, and those of you who know me, I need to have fun no matter what I do. And this was a fun project. This was a great eye-opening project that we all learned something. And hopefully we create some paper that you will read, and it will motivate, inspire more people as well. Very briefly, I just need to mention this. As part of ServCollab, we open it to feature research collaborations. So if you go to servcollab.org/forum, you will see that now we have an open call for collaborations. Even though, as Ray mentioned, these are around these 3 themes, we are open to any ideas, any themes, topics, and suggestions. And the last thing that I had to mention is we now have a call for paper for a special issue of the Journal of Services Marketing. I can share this link on the chat as well, but this is a special issue, the titled Broadening and Reinvigorating the Service Discipline to Reduce Human Suffering and Improve Well-Being. I have the privilege of guest co-editing this special issue with Rodula Tisiotsu. The deadline is August 1st, and we would like to thank Rebecca Russell-Bennett and Mark Rosenbaum, co-editors of JSM, to be open to this idea of this special issue, and they're always open to new ideas, creative, inspiring research as usual. So this is it. Thank you. Again, we are all here. If you have any questions, we would be more than happy to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sertan. And now I'd encourage all of you to put your Zoom view on gallery view so that we can see each other as best we can if you have your camera on. And it's time for questions for any of us or comments that you might have. And I'm really delighted as I've looked over the number of countries represented, various parts of the world represented. We have been trying to be very, very global in our perspective all along, and we're delighted to see global representation so quickly in our very first event. So that's a wonderful start in my view. But comments and questions from you, because the with part, we're really serious about the with, the preposition with, of collaborating with.
I believe Rohit had mentioned they're all happy to share my thoughts for 2 minutes. Of course, Rohit, we'd love to hear it from you. You're muted, yeah.
Who was it? Was it Linda?
Yes, yes.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
Oh, very good. Thank you for joining us. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you very much for all the organizers for making this happen. You know, none of us have been able to travel and see each other. And so all of you who have made this possible is unbelievable. So we can thank technology for bringing us together, at least for once, right? This is amazing. So many of you I have had a chance to meet at some time. Many of you I have not had a chance to meet, but seen electronically. So it's great. Thank you very much. And of course, thank you all the presenters for sharing your thoughts. So I don't want to take a lot of time, but maybe I was just taking some notes while you guys were presenting, Ray and Linda, and so on. So let me just and Sertan, sorry. So let me just share just quick 2-3 points for others to consider. So first of all, I think what you guys have presented is very positive and inspiring. Honestly, I think you have taken the field of service and entire business administration just from an engine for creating profit to something much bigger and broader. So I think we should all be proud of that. So thank you very much for doing that. And because we're really talking about how service as a discipline, as a thought process can have a broader impact on the community issues. So that's great. Second thing is that, as it is already being mentioned, I think the members of this community are already multidisciplinary from many countries, from many cultures, of course, both males and females, and it's very inclusive already. So that's all great. And it's all very thought-provoking, inspiring. So of course, it's all great. So what I wanted to say is that just maybe 2-3 points to think about how we can expand it further. So just please consider that in that context. So first is that I think we can be even more multidisciplinary, right? So I think if you look at the audience list today, I think I'm an anomaly. I'm the only one who has no background in marketing, honestly, a formal background in marketing. And this initiative should have people who have background from other fields, honestly. Service operations, management science, service science, etc. There's in fact a group originated from Japan called Serviceology. These are all people who are interested in the same set of topics, but they don't come to our conferences. They may not even read our journals. So I think if we can find some ways to include them, I think it'll make this effort stronger. That's the first one. The second is that I think Ray has all his career and all his students have proposed many theories and many inspiring ideas. And over time, those have been tested by some empirical work. And I think this is an opportunity for us, the rest of us who are actually active in empirical work, to think about how we can test some of these ideas. I think these are great ideas for junior faculty, postdoc, PhD students, perhaps even senior faculty to encourage their junior colleagues. So that's my second point, because there's abundance of data now. In fact, there's more data now than there ever was. When I was a PhD student, and maybe many, many years earlier when Ray was a PhD student. Sorry, Ray, we are not the same age. But the rest of you got my point. Third one is that I think this is a very important and exciting conversation for practitioners. Having come to Vietnam, I have had a chance to talk to people who have been part of things like Doctors Without Borders, people who have done voluntary work in Laos, in Cambodia, and so on. And lots of those type of people have amazing examples simply, of what we are talking about here today. So if somehow throughout our network, we can create a parallel group of practitioners who are willing to share their experience and thoughts, I think we can have a whole bunch of cases, whole bunch of examples which can use to further illustrate the points which have been made. And then lastly, I would say that it's great that we have special issues and journal articles, but perhaps edited book or cases and teaching materials, those can also be very useful. And then the last point is my 10-second plug for quiz 17, because many of you are on the advisory board or the authors or past participants of quiz. I hope that we can welcome you all to Hanoi in January 22. I think we should have a whole bunch of sessions on the topics we are discussing here today. So that's it. So that's my quick take. I thought I'll take 2 minutes. I took maybe a little bit more, but with that, I hand over back to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit. So those were very, very thoughtful comments, and I certainly agree with your what can we do next points. Your last 4 points, I agree with completely. On a couple of them, I kept thinking he's been reading our minds, because like the last one you brought up just on practitioners, that's been one of the higher and harder goals for us, to bring in practitioners. And it is hard to break out of the technical language of fields and to talk to other groups and to talk to the people that are outside of academia. But those really are needed. We need to reach out and build even bigger networks than we ever had before to really work on these things. But let's let some of the others that might have comments or questions contribute. I see a hand up there, Laki.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. This was a really very good session for me, particularly being a service researcher. I looked for particularly the part where the presenter has discussed the service exclusion part. This is very interesting when it comes to the South Asian countries, particularly related to the aging issues. What is happening here? Currently, if I talk about Pakistan, we have 184 million people who are under 25. Now, after 25, they almost all turn into 50 years of age. And the problem is, before the current generations or the earlier generations, they were having something like family value systems, for example, to take care of the older age people. Now, with the passage of time and with the economic pressure, these values are also declining and the family size is also decreasing. First, they were having 3 to 4 kids. Now they are coming up to 1 or 2. And definitely when they grow up, they will remain busy in their jobs and etc. Now, for the point is, we have to look for, as a researcher, to forthcoming issues which may exclude some of the huge, I can say the huge number of the service takers from this value system to, they may look for some services or aspect with, like the policymaker, the businessman, they may look the coming aspects where may exclude some of the huge number, like 184 million, what I believe is a stronger number. This is what's happening in all South Asia. So this diminishing the utility that is termed as the care, first it was being given by the family. Now the family might not like afford these care for daycare center, old age houses. So I think we should also highlight such things to in these South Asian country, so that the governments, the decision maker, the policy maker may consider these aspects, particularly serving at bottom of the pyramid. This is what I think may be an area of research where we need to consider that what can be service can exclude in the future coming perspective. So this was my point to share with all of you. I hope we will think about it. And if there is any areas of research where we can collaborate and think, it will be a betterment for the society and for the impoverished people too. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucky. Yes, there is a great need for more work on the bottom of the pyramid issues. And Javier Reynoso is one of the leading service researchers on that topic. But there is a great need for more of us working on it. I've done very little in that topic. I did it with him and some of the collaborators that are part of the advisory board even. But much like some of these other service topics, when you're talking about millions and millions, and even in the case of poverty, billions of people, there is a great need for more work. And what we know around the world is there are systems around the world that are designed to leave people excluded. The system is designed for that. We need service systems that are designed for inclusion instead. So to a great degree, we're hoping to help change the logic of the typical human, the typical politician, the typical business person, to view serving each other's needs as the proper way for humans to behave. There's nothing simple about that goal because there's such a long history of humans mistreating each other. But it certainly makes more sense. No one would choose, if you gave them a choice, would you rather be mistreated or not? What would you choose? We would all get the same answer, I hope, that we would prefer to be treated well. Other comments or questions from any of the rest of you? Thank you, Lucky.
I'd like to add here, again, a shameless promotion probably, but Wafa Hamadi and I have been guest editing a special issue on service research in the Middle East and Africa, and we're wrapping it up now, and it is going to be published in the Journal of Services Marketing. We received a lot of great papers. It's been a wonderful process. So this is an area that we feel definitely is under research, and hopefully next time we will move more into other areas like Southeast Asia and Latin America. There's a lot of work to be done there, and I fully agree that a lot of our TSR work is being done in the Western world, and it's not the same when you look at Africa, when you look at Southeast Asia, when you look at Latin America. So that's definitely a great goal and objective for the future.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Great, thank you. Other comments and questions? We'll stay on the line if you have comments and questions. If you need to leave, and I know a few people have posted in the chat they needed to leave, but if you don't have to leave and you have something you wanted to add, please do. After all, collaboration requires participation. So.
I think Samuel has his hand up.
All right, oh, you do. Samuel, go right ahead. Yes.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's a very interesting seminar. That was also the first one. And thank you. Very interesting inputs. I just want to add a simple point. Well, I think we are doing a lot, and this time that we are is a very interesting time from social responsibility perspectives. We have a lot of societal issues that are raising everywhere in the world. And of course, this COVID-19 has also changed the whole ecosystem. One of the points I was quite interested in the last 4 or 5 years is where research meets education. I think we have also to remember that, well, we are doing a lot of publication research, but we have also to think that how we can really this transfer in terms of education. Ray, you are part of our book. I have, yeah, that's a shameful promotion also, but I've now edited a book with Boo Edvarsen and Boo Inquist on business transformation. Hopefully it will be published with Routledge and the PRM series this summer. One of the things we were looking in the book is how we can really collect different approaches in the service research and really trying to understand from a case in refugees, the BOP cases. Ray, also thank you for the ServCollab and the service design with Leah and Boo. Francesca also done on the service ecosystem. We try to collect about 12 chapters and trying to build a small book that could also be used for education. So I think this is a lot. We have a lot of cases, but we have also to think that how we can transfer this for the educational purpose. That's my point. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Samuel. And Rohit mentioned educational purposes too, and I agree completely. I've been trying to do that in my own teaching, but the materials aren't there yet. So we really do need, I think, if we're really going to help future generations, we need materials that go beyond what has already been used in business schools to the next level, the business transformation that your book title is capturing. So great, thank you very much. Who else wants to add something to the discussion?
It's Mark here. I cannot raise my hand somehow, so I just started to talking. Thanks for organizing such a great event and interesting presentations. But somehow I have a feeling that all of you mentioned this language issue of service inclusion, and I'd like to ask a question. It's not a comment. Could you please elaborate what would be your key challenges in developing this area of language inclusion, service language inclusion? Thank you.
I'll start, and Sertan and Linda may have other things to add. Thanks for asking that. The language topic is one that I've slowly become obsessed with. And it goes back to my early days as a scholar, where I was convinced that service was important, but people kept telling me, no, it's not important at all. Because I was one of those people who was an early career person who was convinced, like Christopher Lovelock, Grunros, and so many others at that same era with me. We were convinced there's something there, but people said, no, service is not important. So the word service to most people meant something insignificant. And only later did the meaning of the word change. And actually, the root of the meaning of service comes from Latin, and it actually is the word used, evolved from the word for slaves. And we even have words like servile and subservient that evolved from that slave link to Latin. So words have messed with our minds in ways that are unfortunate. We really need language that enables thought and that can help each other. And this is part of what I loved about reading the Humankind book, because he's really looking at how, if you're thinking about humans as if they have a vicious nature, and he has this great section on the people who've made those arguments. If you think about humans as naturally vicious, then you behave accordingly. But if you think of humans as naturally kind, which is his argument, Bregman's argument, then you will behave accordingly. We need language that assumes people deserve respect. So some of it's respectful words and respectful terms. Some of it's getting rid of words of dominance. My example with slave is the root of the meaning from what became the word service. Slaves were the ones who gave service. So that dominance and subservience problem is still embedded in most cultures in various ways. So we can't really escape subservience. We can't really escape dominance too, because they're both part of the same problem. Dominance and subservience go together. We can't really escape that unless we have languages and systems that encourage collaboration. And there's two parts to this. There's a technical language part for scholars to be able to talk to each other. And each of us, if we're trained like me in marketing, well, we learned the marketing language, but we might not know the language of anthropology or the language of physics. So we could pick all kinds of other examples. But then there's also the public language of how we talk to each other in a general public sense. We need to be able to talk across the various disciplinary boundaries. We need to be able to talk across the global boundaries. With nearly 8 billion people, we're rapidly approaching 8 billion people on planet Earth. With nearly 8 billion people, if our technology can help bring us together instead of bringing us apart, there's a huge opportunity to creating more collaborative human systems in ways we couldn't ever do before. And this is part of what I've loved about those 3 books I mentioned at the end. Each of those books has a different take on how humans could work together better. But it's not going to be an easy challenge because language is embedded in our brains. We learn how to think with the help of languages. And of course, the world has many, many languages. So that's a challenge all by itself. But there needs to be, I think, a global service understanding. And we need to translate that into all the various languages so that anthropologists know how to talk about it. And no matter what native language people might be starting in, that they could also be able to talk to each other. That's a long answer, but it's a big problem.
Can I add something to that, Ray? Because, you know, it's very important, interpersonal language and all, but in one of my papers, 2019, I think JSM, as part of that paper, I realized that even the words and adjectives used in media to refer to refugees contribute to the animosity and discrimination against those refugees as well, even with the best intentions. I mean, just calling them, let's say, poor leads to further discrimination and animosity. I mean, I know that Linda, Ray, and I, in some recent paper, for example, people with vulnerabilities versus people experiencing vulnerabilities. Just a minor change in the middle changes the whole meaning and perception for many other people. I think that's a very important topic, not only in interpersonal communication, but also overall media and what words are being used in media as well.
Right. And just to add to that, I think there's a lot of work, like I said in my talk, there's a lot of work that has been done in the linguistics that we're just not aware of. And for me, it has been really a very fun learning experience to learn about these things and not try to reinvent the wheel and kind of educate myself about the usage of language. And I have to say, it's not easy because, as Ray mentioned, we are programmed to speak in a certain way. And when you learn some of the things that we say that are might be discriminating or might not be inclusive, right? It's really hard to change the way we talk and the way and the verb we use, especially maybe as a non-native speaker of English. So there's some words that I've learned that just because that's how I learned them. So it's kind of relearning the language and relearning how to speak to make sure you use inclusive language. And it takes time, but I think we're on the right path if we want to make this change.
Great, thank you, Linda. Francisca, I see your hand is up, so let me give you a turn.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for organizing this meeting. It's always exciting to me to see you all, and in general, I used to see you live in some conferences, and nowadays it's quite impossible. I'm very open, and really, I hope to be able to collaborate effectively to all of you, with you, and in general, we did already with Samuel and Ray, Fisk, and even Linda, but not only I would like to collaborate for research that is, of course, in general, very interesting, but I'm interested also in educational. And educational, I think that we have new tools now that we can use also for sharing some experience. We did last week with Rodula, we merged two classrooms, mine and her classroom, about brand activism. But I think that is an opportunity also for creating inclusion and networking within students that nowadays are very in difficulties for going abroad and having their interaction and experiences with foreign students. So I'm open, really open. In a few weeks, I will receive Linda in the classroom and then Samuel. And I think we can also maybe plan some specific course that are already international, considering even the platform, and I'm open for this if you want. So very
like
happy.
that.
I'm sorry I have to leave now. And so greetings from Rome, and hopeful see you soon as possible.
Yes. Thank you, Francesca. And Alina, I see your hand is up, so I should let you speak. Oh, turn your microphone there. Your microphone. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. So I haven't met most of the people here, and I came to this because I've read papers from the 3 speakers actually. So it's great to see you in person. I did watch the TED Talk from Ray earlier, and it's great to not put a face to a name because I've already seen you, but it's great to see you in person. So I want to first thank the organizers for this wonderful opportunity. Like everybody else, I've been staying home for a year, and it's really refreshing to get to see like-minded people. Before I forget, I want to ask whether the slides will be made available. So I made a few screenshots, especially for the books that's recommended. But would you be making the slides available to us? And this is for the 3 speakers?
Well, sure, we can definitely do that. It's not a problem at all. After all, you can't collaborate if you can't share, so we will share.
All right, wonderful. Yeah, and I'll definitely get hold of the 2 books that you mentioned. So I have a quick, I have just a quick echo to one of the points that everyone here made, and I have a question. So the echoing points that I really appreciate the collaboration between people from different disciplines, and especially also with practitioners. When Linda put on the slide about challenges for interdisciplinary work, I was thinking, so I published a paper in Population Health Management about a collaboration between public health people and marketing people recently. And I remember telling my public health co-author that I got to go to a marketing journal because in your journal, it doesn't count for productivity for me. And I've had that issue before. I've had a paper in my last year of doctoral study. I published a paper in the journalism journal, and I've published in a statistical journal. And I remember both times my superior came and questioned, why did I submit a journal outside of marketing? So it's really good to hear that you actually explicitly acknowledge that it's important that we work together, and that we don't just stay in our own niche, which we should contribute to marketing. But I really, really appreciate and the challenges you mentioned. And then the question I have is that I have wondered that, so what I've been wondering about this. What do you think about it? And the question goes to everyone. Think about communal services such as religious related services that help to connect those who are resourceful with those who are vulnerable, and sometimes maybe in 2 different countries. Maybe an example would be like a church who's helping a nonprofit organization or humanitarian organization that are helping refugees, or maybe helping vulnerable children in other countries. So while they're doing that, they are obviously helping the vulnerable, but I've seen personal examples that they're also helping the resourceful people who are affluent. They're helping these people actually also to live a better life because of how they get involved in these courses. But I just want to ask, I'm new to this field, and I want to ask everyone who's obviously done a lot in transformative research, what do you think of this phenomenon, and how do you, I guess, map that to our marketing work, the services marketing work?
Can I just go with that, Alina? Thank you, by the way. I agree that that's very important. But I think for that purpose, we all have some responsibility, especially when it comes to publishing in journals, starting with the editors, co-editors, and reviewers. Sometimes we are all looking for the perfect research to publish regardless of the context or contribution. Recently, I remember reviewing a paper. It was done in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, in a very unique context. Was that the perfect methodology? It was not. Could we ask for something better? But given the context, given the purpose, and given the contribution, sometimes I think we need to look at the big picture. Reviewers and also journal editors that make the decision as well. You know, reading about such organizations, service organizations, volunteering, religious, health, education organizations, and learning about them should be a contribution in itself that should help. I'm not suggesting we publish everything, but sometimes we need to look at the big picture and just look beyond very teeny tiny details of some small things about the big methodology. I think that's my take on that.
No, I fully agree with Sertan, and I'd like to add here that events like this one, and also more and more talks about interdisciplinary work and conferences, at least myself, I've seen a big difference in the last 3-4 years in the conference keynote speeches, also in the conferences, special sessions, in the journals as well. The journals are open to so much more interdisciplinary work and area-specific work that I feel like we're in definitely a much better place for research like this. Having said that, there's a lot more to be done, but still I feel like there is already a big hope for more of this work being accepted across the board, and more universities are being open to that. So the hope is that in a couple of years, even more, this will become more of a norm. And again, seeing like in my talk, the Nature journal, which is considered one of the top journals out there, right? Talking about the importance of more interdisciplinary work and collaboration between various scientists in different areas. That's a fresh perspective that is very much needed.
Great, thank you.
Yes, thank
Can I add
you.
one more thing, just one more thing. And also, authors, please do a better job in selling your papers, because sometimes I see cover letters, I see, you know, the initial letter, abstract and all. They talk about every single thing except the main contribution of the context and of all that stuff. You know, just emphasize that clearly. Make sure that you will have a convincing argument, not only for the reviewers, but also for the associate editors and editors as well. It goes both ways, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, who else would like to contribute?
So,
There's still a lot of you on the call, which is wonderful. So I'm more than happy to stay on the call with you if you have things you want to share with us.
Right, can Sertan and I have another shameless promotion?
Well, why not? After all, most of us have a marketing background.
We can't help it. We can't help it. We need to. So we'd just like to invite everyone to our social, the ServCollab social on Friday. So please join us. If you haven't heard about the ServCollab social, there are informal socials. Usually we have a topic. We just try to get together and try to relive probably the experiences we have face to face. So usually these are fun events. They're usually 1 hour long. So if you're available, please join us on Friday. All the details are in the ServCollab page.
Great, thank you, Linda. I was hoping one or both of you would bring up the social on Friday. And I should note a key thing about ServCollab versus ServCollab. You obviously are hearing from me as ServCollab founder, but also the prior founder of ServCollab. And you've heard from 2 of the co-chairs. ServCollab and ServCollab are collaborating clearly. When I started ServCollab, I announced it at the ServCollab conference on the 25th anniversary of ServCollab. I was convinced that the service research field was ready to go further. But there's a reason why we needed something different that I announced then, but I will share with all of you. And that is that ServCollab is in a limited space by itself. ServCollab is a subsidiary of the American Marketing Association. And it's always been aggravated and frustrated by some of those rules that are North American specific logics. And that's just part of the problem. It's also only a membership organization. It has no direct control over its own finances, even, much to everybody's surprise, but that's just the nature of the way all of the special interest groups in the AMA are. So it's a membership focused group and has been doing a wonderful job across all those years. ServCollab can do what ServSig cannot do, and we can do these things together. ServCollab is a nonprofit charity as its primary mission. Charity focused on research activities. So together, the researchers that are members of ServSig and the people who want to do good works in ServCollab can work together. That's the essence of it. But there's no way we could actually compete because ServCollab does not have legal permission to do what ServSig does, nor does ServSig have legal permission to do what ServCollab does. But together, we can do things that we can't do any other way. So that's the short story of it. Like, we may be exhausted. All of you that are still with us have been sticking through all of it, and I appreciate how many countries are still represented. This is delightful. Looks like Gabrielle is Porto's sunset there. I was pretty sure I knew that view there in Porto, having visited as a result.
Yes, this is, let me get out. This is the river mouth. So it's a river Douro. So you can hear.
The photo was taken from the Gaia side, I'm guessing. Okay, well, it appears it's time to stop. We've gone slightly more than an hour and a half of total time. We, as the speakers and ServCollab officers that have been part of this whole process, really appreciate all of you joining us, because none of this works unless there are people who are interested in the topics and who want to work together. And I appreciate all the comments that have been shared in the chat. We will share the slides, and we hope to be able to do our next live event when we figure out exactly what that next live event would be. Not a repeat of this one, but to move forward. And I know Radul is very eager to talk about that and discuss that. And Kareem's very eager to talk about that in terms of what we might do. We weren't sure how many people would show up when we did this first one, so we're delighted to get off to a great start. So with that, Linda, Sertan, any last words you'd like to add?
It was great pleasure.
Radula, Kareem, anything you'd like to add?
I just want to say that we had almost 50 people watching this event today, and this is a great start.
Wonderful.
So we had 30 plus people here on Zoom and a few more on Facebook, and hope that we will have more people in our next event.
Great. And Werner, thanks again for all your technical work behind the scenes, because it's never easy to pull off electronic events at all. So we really appreciate your help on that. Okay, it appears it's time to stop. Thanks again. And we hope to see you at our next event sometime in the future. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Werner.